What happens when a 46-year IT veteran and minister of the gospel finally says yes to AI? Well, today's guest brings nearly 5 decades in IT and advanced degrees in divinity. Dr. Brian G. Fite is a minister of the gospel and founder of DRBGF ITE Ministries, where he consults with churches on vision, finances, and operations. What sets him apart is his ability to speak both languages, business and ministry. He built his career translating technology into real solutions, and he brings that same approach to helping churches leverage modern tools without losing their mission. He's authored 7 books, and here's the most interesting thing. He went from I'm never using AI to a paid subscriber of AI tools and his own AI assistant called Fite AI in under 30 days. Dr. Fite is here to talk faith, technology, and why the real question isn't about the tools. It's about the heart. You are watching Talking Techish with Dr. DeMario. Today's guest, we're just gonna jump in. He's an exciting gentleman to listen to. I take his knowledge myself. I really do. I'm about to hire him on the side to be my personal counselor and things like that. But other than that, I will introduce to you the man himself, Mr. Dr. BG Fight. How are you doing, sir?
I am great, doctor. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I talk to a lot of people that that fellowship with you. Everybody got their little names for you. I found out.
Oh, goodness.
Find out that they call you. They got all kind of nicknames. I always say BG, Dr. BG Fight. What's your tagline? What do you like to be
I
called yourself?
um I guess ever since we came up with the DRBGFITE, I've become very comfortable with that one. Um a lot of people refer to me as ABF, but as long as I know a person's talking to me, I'm gonna answer them. Um,
I appreciate that. I do have to ask though, because
okay.
I ever since I've known you, you always spell it all the way out.
Uh-huh.
Even though Fight is your last name, you always spell that whole scenario out. Is that the branding of your company, of your business?
Yes, it is, but it goes back further than that. I have had a lot of experiences where people can't spell fight,
Oh wow.
and a lot of people mispronounce it. So I know that might sound confusing. It's only 4 letters, but the variations of what my name has been turned into, I've always spelled out fight. I've always spelled out FITE. So now, although it is the brand, um, I have been spelling it out for as long as I could spell my name.
Watch this. So that makes me feel great because with a last name like McIlwain on my side, I have to spell it,
It,
pronounce it,
mm-hmm,
break it down.
mm-hmm,
But amazingly, what you're saying, FITE,
mm-hmm.
fight. People actually struggle with that too. That's crazy.
Yes, I've been called Fife more than I've been called Fight. Um, I I I just roll with it.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, sir, after knowing you for some time now,
Mm-hmm.
you actually have a very, I would say, interesting background. That even to getting into your future, as I told you offline, we're gonna take it back and we're gonna fast forward it. So, if you don't mind, just share a little bit about your history, how you became the man.
What? Well, I don't know if I can answer that question. I can tell you who I am right now. Hey, I don't know if that makes me the man, but so my degrees are in business information systems. That's my bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree in divinity, and I have a doctorate in divinity. So I am a minister of the gospel who also works in IT. I have worked in information technology for almost what is this, 47, 46 years.
Oh, wow.
It's been a pretty good journey in information technology. I being old school, starting this back in the 80s, I am one of those mainframe people that they still need, but I have a vast background in technology.
That's interesting. The two sections meet at a crossroads that sounds very interesting. But I first want to dive into this technology thing. This is talking techish with Dr.
That's right.
DeMario. So you've been doing this for quite some time.
Yes.
So I just have to ask, in today's climate,
Mm-hmm.
how has your job role changed, or has it changed over the course of the last 3-4 years?
It has. It's changed. One of the things that I noticed that's going on in IT now is a very siloed understanding. I If I work on X, then I just want to know X. I don't want to know anything else. And my training and experience, going all the way back to my undergrad training, they drilled into us that you had to be a technology person who was functioning in a business world. So we not only came to the table with technology solutions, we needed to understand the ins and outs of the business, what they were trying to accomplish, so that we could then design solutions that were more than just what the person was asking for. You had to learn how to listen and say, well, wait a minute, this might be something that can help them. So when I put together the design document, let me throw this in and see if this is what they were really looking for. That's why my degree is actually in business administration, but I had a concentration in information systems where they taught me 7 different programming languages. So that then I could talk solutions in business language. The business people didn't have to learn how to talk tech because we learned how to talk business. So come forward over 40 years of experience, I notice now that there's a lot of business people that lean on us because we can talk business, not just tech. And there's a lot of tech people that lean on us because we talk business, not just tech. So what I see happening across the industry, probably in the next 3 to 5 years, is there's going to be a void because business didn't see the need for that position called business analyst. And the technology people aren't really versed to talk business. So there's going to be a void that's going to have to be filled with people who can speak the business, but then turn it in to the technology solutions that will aid the business going forward.
I think I really understand what you were saying there, because I've been watching a lot of news broadcasts. A lot of people, a lot of companies rather, implemented the AI into their systems, but now they're trying to backpedal
Mm-hmm.
to get some of these people back in, because the AI, of course, can do the work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just like what you're saying, they're missing that element between even just the conversation, the words, and to understanding. And I don't think nobody thought about that when it was first implementing. Like we're gonna go, into autonomous agents and things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. There still is a little gap between that side because AI is straight tech.
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
probably going to talk tech, everything like that,
Mm-hmm.
unless you program it differently. So, I can see that, and I'm always watching the news because I have a mass concern over the transitioning into just AI. I talk about, people first, human first
Mm-hmm.
in all AI aspects. So I could really agree with you on that side of the table. But I want to move the needle a little bit because we got the master and the bachelor in divinity.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is a could say lack of a better word. That's a strange cross right there.
Mm-hmm.
Being a technologist as well as pastor and things like that. And I know that you're retired somewhat
Oh,
because I did see a video that you still up there getting down on the pulpit. So I don't know what retirement means. But that's what you had told me before. But
mm-hmm.
that's for another day. So do your background far as in your works and in understanding business and things of that nature, does that relate into the aspect of divinity and in your pastoring and building of churches and things of that nature? Does it kind of cross that give you an advantage?
I don't know if it gives me an advantage, but I will say that in my ministry, my technology experience and my business experience are very strong influences. Very strong influences. Now, I do not believe that the church or ministry is a business. I don't believe that pastors should be equated to CEOs. I am not of that school. But the principles of operation and organization that we use in business are very pertinent and relevant in what we do in ministry. And and well, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I'm just itching to say this, so I'm just go ahead and say it because I was one of those people who said I'm never using AI. Okay. That's where I was. Some friends of mine, actually, my team at my job, I have people on my team that leverage AI to assist with solutions and questions and other things. They use AI every day. My position has been I'm not using it. You guys can do whatever you want to do. And if I need information, you just give it to me. I don't care where it comes. Okay. So that's where I was at. But then I was from a ministry perspective, I was frustrated with the productivity. I was frustrated with a number of different things that I was trying to use old methods in a new environment. So as you know, I mean, the viewers are going to find this out. I was sitting at dinner with my son doing some research. I had been researching some things, saying what changes do I need to make? What fundamental things have I decided that need to shift to create more possibilities and more productivity? So I just happened to say to our son, son, I'm looking into this and blah, 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 and I'm trying to learn something. And he said, well, I don't know what you're trying to do that for. I can hook you up with DeMario because this is what he done. And I said, great. And he hooked us up. And I can't say the rest is history because there's so much more that's
Yes,
on
sir.
the horizon as we go forward.
You know what? I appreciate you saying that because you know that was coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
It was coming down the pipeline over the scenario that when we first met,
Mm-hmm.
you told me the very same thing. I don't use AI, blah, blah,
Nope.
blah. I have no desire, blah, blah, blah. Then, less than 30 days after, you sending me a text saying, "Hey, how can I get this to shoot me an email?"
Now I have a subscription. I'm just not using the free services. I
Yes.
have a subscription.
Yes. And for those of you who are watching, we had the pleasure of developing Fite AI or
Yes.
FITE AI. Uh, y- you know, which has been a game changer simply because, Dr. Fight himself, he told me his stories and he told me his artifacts, which I call artifacts, his
Mhm.
books, his information and everything. And we wanted to compile that into a tool that could service people when he's even not around. And
Mhm.
more so, like we like to say now, that lives even beyond you.
Mhm.
But Dr. Fight, I have to say, it's a story that you told me, and I have repeated it myself when you told me about those books
Mhm.
sitting all up in the other room.
Mhm.
I really just imagine that. I know we just recently helped you with the course, setting up the course and everything.
Mhm.
Um, Everybody, the link is most definitely going to be in the description, so you can go check all
Okay.
of this out. But with that scenario, have those books started moving out of that room yet?
Um, Actually, where we are in the process, following some great advice that you gave me, we're developing the procedures so that we can respond. Basically, the funnel method that as it comes in, we have different tiers for people to respond to. And some of that is still in development. We have now started to dabble in marketing using Fite AI to help. And the information that I have been able to glean in areas that I am not only am I not an expert, in areas that I don't enjoy. I don't like marketing. I don't like sales. It's not something. So, so AI is now putting me in a position where what was difficult for me is now turned into development of scripts for commercials, actually turned into
Mhm.
videos for commercials, leveraging tools that 6 months ago I wouldn't have even considered leveraging, subscribing to services to make things so much easier for things that we used to struggle with. Now we're able to develop as I am learning these tools. So as you challenge to not only develop, but learn,
Yes, sir.
understand what's on this landscape for you to assist you, not so much to replace, which is something we can talk about, but to assist, to aid, to strengthen, to make your operation more effective and efficient. So for the team that I'm working with, we're actually still trying to learn our way through it because I'm a technology person. Some of this stuff, okay, whether I like it or don't like it, I understand some. But I'm working with people who are not technologists, don't use computers on a regular basis. So we're needing to slow walk it and not only develop systems, but more so develop their understanding
Mm.
so that they know that this goes with this. And when this happens, this triggers this. So if you do this, it puts something in place that's going to help us down here. So we started with a very big picture. Remember when you walked us through the funnel and this will make this happen and this tier will be this
Yes,
tier?
sir.
Now we've taken that very broad thing and said, now let's put the pieces in place. That's where the first course came from. It's one of those first pieces, one of those levels that people can get in on. And we're working on another course now. We're working on the responses and how to categorize the information we're able to collect for what kind of responses. So there's a number of things that are still in the works, if you will, so that starting in June, because I'm going to be down there with you guys in June, and I'm going to be at another place in June. So the plan is to go in there with the DRBGFITE and say, look, we're not coming in here with a bunch of books this time. We're coming in here with just this one-stop shop for whatever you need. So when the pastor said, we want you to come back to do our conference again, we sent them to the site. And I actually told the team, this is a test run. We got to make sure that we respond. We understand how to do this, who's responsible for what. And we're really trying to, instead of just jumping out there and letting it happen, we've got to get ready for scale.
Oh, I love that.
And so that's what I'm trying to do now. Make sure that we've got roles clearly defined. Make sure that we leverage automated solutions and tell a person, you don't have to sit there and do that email. You can construct it. And then when a particular event occurs, the email will go. And trying to get people to recognize that if we define our roles and we define our processes, then the automation does the stuff that we can tell it, just keep doing this. And so the team is adjusting. I'm not going to say that they're jumping up and down, yay, hurrah, hurrah, because I still run into those situations where people say, well, I don't need to go through that. I can just send this email myself. Okay, but did you proofread it? Did you check it? Does it touch the points that we want to make sure that we touch in the communication? Well, I ain't have time to go through all that. That's why I don't want you to do it. It's not that you can't do it, but there are certain things that can be done for you that make your presentation and your processes more effective.
You know what? We should switch seats in this conversation.
No, sir.
Because when you were speaking, I was just really just imagining the process and what you was talking about. Mainly, I want to pinpoint on when you're dealing with people who not only are not in the AI, they're not into the AI rather. They're barely into computerized systems,
Exactly.
That is a challenge. I always tell people that, my dad, his business is 30 plus years. I've been saying 30 years for a couple of years, so he's probably more. So, but at the end of the day, I help him with his books.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he gives me his books, especially, tax season just came up. It's a ledger because he has never, he cuts on a iPhone. I got him an iPhone and he started dealing with that. But far as a laptop, which is so crazy because I can remember growing up, we, in my opinion, was one of those first groups of people that when they came out with the computer system, we had all in our house, but he never was back there on it.
Right.
He just had it. He used the fax machine part. So today he still doesn't do that. But it's cool. I always give him a pass because he's late 70s now.
Mm-hmm.
I give him a pass. But to folks that are younger,
right,
as we are transitioning, these things are hitting us left and right. These new advanced technologies, robotic systems, and everything. I'm always concerned for our community of the people that haven't even got to level 1 yet. I'm always concerned with what that looks like. So can you share a little bit, like, how was your approach, or maybe internal, external, to get the people to just try?
Well, see, this is, in my opinion, this is where my technology experience over the last, I've been pastoring somewhere between 20 and 30 years. And in my pastoral ministry, I always wanted to integrate technology, regardless of what phase of technology we were talking about, whether it was Windows, Microsoft, or AI or whatever. Always wanting to say to the church, there are more efficient ways to do what we're doing. Not necessarily different. I didn't want to hit them with different things. I wanted to say, let's look at some efficiencies. And it was a massive struggle to introduce efficiencies. Massive struggle. Now the nice thing is, once the efficiencies were in place, and sometimes they did have to be forced into place, but once the efficiencies were in place, you come back a year later and you say, remember, this is what you were doing? And they crack up. They're like, cannot believe. It used to take a team of people hours to report and count and key and all of this. Any money that came in, now you've got readers that will read envelopes and things of that nature. And you're talking about taking a process that used to take over an hour and you're done in 15 minutes. You start introducing digital payment options and you're like, okay, we don't have to sit here and count this. We just have to make sure everything posts, and then we reconcile everything to make sure everything's accounted for. And what used to take hours is literally been reduced down to minutes. Security issues where people are taking a bag with all the money in it and needing to transport it to the bank. You know, we used to have 2 people assigned for protection purposes just so that they didn't get robbed. We had multiple locked bags from the bank so that we could secure and things of that nature. Everybody doesn't use digital options, and we don't force everybody to use digital options. But if you can take 60, 70, 80% of the people and they get on a digital option, it's money we don't have to touch. We don't have to worry about its security or anything. Now, I am not an advocate for a fully digital society. I think our freedoms will be taken completely away from us. But digital as an option is very powerful. Very, very, extremely powerful, especially in the administration of ministry.
That's deep. You know, and to your point, I just did a post on my LinkedIn. Um, I was saying that, and I think this was actually yesterday. And depending on when y'all are watching this, it might be a couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, what I did was I was getting ready to utilize the tool. I have become a fan of Anthropic's Claude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been a chat GTPer when they first came out in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have, this thing is blowing me away. It's scaring me sometimes and blowing me away. And I have to give you a little story on that one. But the other day when I started to do something, and I got a whole nother monitor just for this Windows to stay up. And I have gotten to where I'm used to multitasking with AI doing some stuff, me doing some stuff. You know, I'm used to doing this. And this particular time, they had a outage. The outage was maybe 15, 20 minutes. To me, it felt like a whole week. And I did a post and I took a screenshot because I done got to the point now where I have subscribed to these tools, their little incident reports or whatever the case may be. So I get the email every time something happened. And I took a screenshot of the downtime that it was down. And I said, if you're running your business or what have you completely off of AI, you're probably, your bottom line is going to face some problems sometimes because when it goes out, you're going to have to revert back to the human side of doing those things. So if you completely are utilizing, you know, automation and things of this nature to handle all your core stuff, oh, you're setting yourself up for failure because An outage for a couple of hours, depending on how you operate, could really shut you down.
Right.
And so this is why we always say human first. It's a tool in the toolbox. Pull it
Mhm.
out when you can utilize it. If it ain't working that day, hey, you got your other tool, which is your own hand, pen, and paper and
Right.
thoughts and things of that nature. But I must share this little story with you. So I don't know how much of about Claude that you have been checking out. You know, if you go
I've
on
been
YouTube,
checking it out.
man, this thing has gotten crazy. So you know me. I developed my own executive assistant.
Mhm.
I connected it all into the back end through API into, my Google Workspace and all that. So
Mhm.
it's basically it got it going on. So I can just literally tell him, he has a persona. People that know me know that I have had
Yeah.
Ethan for years, but
Mhm.
Ethan has upgraded. So now I can tell Ethan, hey, shoot Dr. Fite an email
Mhm.
just to reconfirm our meeting. I don't have to tell it when the
Right.
meeting was or who you were or what we have talked about. It pulled in all of that information, compile it,
Right.
then it was send. Then I had to go in and say, hey, listen here, don't be sending nothing without me checking it out first. Cause they had sent out an email one time. I was like, it was good now. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie, but I felt some
Right.
type of way that it left me
Yeah.
out the loop.
Don't be sending stuff out without checking with me.
So so in particular case, I kept asking it to do certain things. And of course I had programmed it based on a set of knowledge. So
Mhm.
I started asking it to do some things which probably was outside the knowledge base I put in it. It told me that I was going out of scope.
Mm.
It says, and it calls me Doc. I don't know where to get that from, but it says, Doc, you're going out of scope. And I had to stop for a minute. How you telling me? So we had a little back and forth about who's the boss.
Mhm.
And then I had to stop myself and say, I'm talking to a machine.
Mhm.
I tell my wife all the time, I say, the more and more I get into this, the more and more I feel like Ethan is just a person in a remote person I got working.
Mhm.
Because every morning at 8 o'clock, it tells me who I need to follow up with. If you replied to me or replied to him, because he has his own email and all that stuff,
Mhm.
it's interacting with me so well. But I often tell people I live on both sides of the fence. I'm hooray. Oh man, this is beautiful. Yes, can't wait to get the George Jetson robot in the house. Then I got the other side of me that's like, slow down a little bit though. And I think with that, people out there, and I call myself pretty well, I'm techie. I love everything
Mhm.
techie. My trash can opens when you go by it. My doors operate off of fingerprints. My lights come on and off by themselves. I'm that guy.
Mhm.
But for people that are not, I have a I don't want to say fear, but the lack of a better word, I have a fear for them transitioning into this new age of world that we seem to be rapidly fast paced going into. So saying all that to say I really appreciate how you was really breaking down the aspects of showing people in bite-sized modes on how these tools can work.
Mhm.
Because I think, they're saying that 2026 is this almost the year of launch.
Mhm.
They're talking about the stuff that's coming in 2027 is going to be off the chain.
Mhm.
And I'm saying if that's going to be off the chain, oh my goodness,
Right.
I'm really nervous right now. So I really appreciate it, and that's kind of stepping back into when we first met.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
just what what changed in your mind to take that step? What was that process?
Well, like I said, it started with frustration. Okay. I believe the systems we had in place were effective, but the meetings we were having and the results we were looking at, what's the problem here? So when I got with you and you started presenting questions, you started saying, okay, explain this to me, which was a very important thing because that caused me to use some of the experience I have and really start honestly evaluating some decisions and processes that I was holding on to very tight.
Mm.
And as you know, in the middle of the night, one night, considering, I actually took the last few pieces and just dismantled everything and said, okay, we're just going to go ahead and do this. Full hog, new site. Let's just do this. Branding, whole 9 yards. Throw everything else in the garbage. But it was because, and this is something I think people should know and hear, talk to somebody who can speak in both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to people who can say, I understand where you're at. I understand what you're trying to do. And here's some things that you can do. Instead of sitting there watching a bunch of YouTube videos trying to figure it out yourself, but you need a DeMario who can sit there and say, I understand the technology part. So if you simply tell me where you're at and where you'd like to get to, then we'll figure out what can be put in place to make that possible. There's one other thing I want to throw in here.
Yes, sir.
Because I have a rather unique fear for the future.
Oh,
Rather
do
unique.
tell.
Okay. I agree with you that people who haven't made it to level 1 or ground zero, making their smartphone more than a camera and a telephone. I'm talking like ground zero. That's one concern. My concern is we have a generation of young people, 20 and under, that are being flooded with technology solutions, able to leverage anything. They can talk to devices. They can say, write this for me. They can do a number of different things, and it happens. Okay. Then you've got the other end of the spectrum, people who are knowledgeable and understand what's going on, and then people who are just out of the box, don't know what's going on, and don't really care. Here's my fear. It's not for the older people who can't relate or don't want to relate. It's for the young people who are not learning how these tools operate and where these tools are beneficial for them. I see a generation of people that are just becoming dependent on the technology instead of understanding the technology to know when it should be leveraged for their benefit.
It's so true.
I don't think this technology should ultimately make us more comfortable, because that's going to be ultimately to our own demise. I think that, as you continue to say, the technology has to be an asset. It has to assist. But if we take the lazy approach and just let the robot come in and do what it does, and we go to McDonald's, we just talk to the thing and it just gives us our food and we go on about our business, then we become dependent on technology that we don't understand, that we don't know how to leverage. We don't know how to take this piece over here and connect it with this piece over here. And the two of them together can help us exponentially, because we haven't learned the technology. We just learned how to benefit from what was put in front of us. And I think we're going to end up with a very dependent, useless generation that all they can do is sit there and benefit from the technology. And the people who are able to engage, the people who are able to leverage technology and connect it together, are going to be the people who are going to be the decision makers who are going to benefit from these.
Ooh. I already know, but even before we end this scenario, I already know you coming back, because that's a whole conversation just in itself. It really is, because you're striking the other side of my mind. And I tell people all the time, I say, well, the reason I study this stuff so much, I study it, I'm on it. Late at night, I'm watching all the news on it, I'm studying it. It's not because I want to learn so much. I always use the analogy, if you're going to shoot at me, I want to know everything about that gun so I can maneuver around that bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about technology.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand it so much, so I want to be able to combat it when it starts taking over. Just like I was telling you earlier, having an argument with basically a
Mm-hmm.
chat bot.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand how does it gets this reasoning. And I didn't even tell you how this thing sent my wife an email to almost I wanted to check it. You know what I'm saying? Like hey, that email was too good. You know, he explained, and I'm probably going to just put it up on the screen in this rock. He explained how he's really trying to work with me to help me advance. Talking to my wife, and
Mm-hmm.
then basically using some warm words, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait a minute, what? The
Wait a
check.
minute,
I
boy.
don't have to. I don't have to grab the monitor around the base of it. Like,
Have
hey,
to turn you
listen,
off.
yeah. But we are going there. We are going there so much, and because I really do respect, your ministry, I do have to ask you from that side of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
I really, because I've been really trying to understand myself, and I'm gonna tell you where I'm coming from. I think I shared with you when we first started talking about AI. People still talking about Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people was telling me technology was demonic, it's the devil, and things of this nature. Fast forward to today, there are a couple of ministers that's out there online, and I'm not knocking them, but they're still preaching that
Mm-hmm.
to their congregations. So I'm always on the other side of the fence because I'm saying you're preaching this to the congregation, but the people in the congregation got to go to work.
Right.
And then their managers and bosses are telling them they need to implement. I think it's a lot of companies now, they're having that on the evaluation sheet with how
Mm-hmm.
much of the,
Right.
chat to use. What are your feelings towards that? Like,
Well, and I'm gonna flip the coin over.
yes,
I'm
sir.
not gonna be the technologist. I'm gonna be the doctor of divinity,
Yes.
and because I have not only taught John's revelation, I've written a book on John's revelation. Okay. The people who are saying this is going to put us in a bad situation, I believe they're accurate.
Mm.
Okay. I believe they're accurate because what the scripture says in Revelation is that the devil will have authority over commerce, over buying and selling. King James says buying and selling, commerce. So the economic flow or the opportunity to participate in economic processes is going to be under the authority of the devil, and you will need his mark to participate. Okay. So if you digitize everything and then you simply say to people, I'm not giving you access to anything unless you agree with me, then we will be in the framework to allow that to happen. So I think we need to be knowledgeable that we already have the technology and the opportunity to put that framework into place. But the framework is not the issue. Framework's not the issue, okay? Because we were kind of in the same situation with debit cards.
Mm.
Right? Where it becomes tricky, like I said earlier, is options. If we don't want to end up in that kind of situation, then you leave options that don't lock me into that. Like you were saying, then I'm going to have AI check with me before it runs off and does anything. But that's an option. Some people just want to say, go do your thing. I trust you. I don't have to do anything. I'm going to play golf. and you do this. But then when the system goes down, when something goes wrong, it becomes very desperate because you may not even know what your technology has done without your supervision. That's the kicker. The kicker here is not to say, "Ooh, bad technology, stay away from it." It's say, let's leverage it, as you continue to say. So I agree with your position. Let's leverage it, but let's manage it. Let's
Sir.
not let it just autonomously go off by itself and do whatever it wants to do. We have to stay engaged in those processes. Now, see, I work for a bank where risk management, especially in my area, risk management is very high. So you will rarely have fully autonomous anything running because you have to have risk management. Sometimes that's including AI, and sometimes that's including people in order to manage the risk. But that's because the people that I work with have made a decision that risk management is going to be like number one on our list. A lot of people are doing that. So they're not searching for the balance. They're just looking how I can leverage the benefits. And I think that's where we make a mistake. I think we're running way too fast down the street because the benefits are so glaring. Then let's run and do everything we can. But I think we're going to put ourselves in an economic situation. Because even if we're able to get to a fully autonomous system where AI, robots, whatever, are able to handle all those things, there are very serious economic consequences to even a partially automated process. Because you may be able to save money in making the widget, but if nobody has a job, who buys your widget? So you made it for 15 cents. Great. You have no consumer. Whether we're talking about refrigerators, television, stoves, Xboxes, or whatever, even fast food. You can make it efficient. If nobody has the money to buy the burger, it doesn't matter that you were able to make it fully autonomously. Now, there are people, at least from the political perspective, that have been trying to start that conversation for about the last 8 to 10 years. I think they got very poor solutions because it was almost saying, let's give everybody some money every month so they can keep buying stuff. Well, no, I don't think that's the answer. That leads to a very lazy, dependent society. So I think there's got to be some balances in there where we literally discipline ourselves and say, we're only going to go this far. And even though we could go further, we refuse to cross over into those frontiers because we are going to be unable to find the balance that allows us to function in a fashion that we would like to.
You know what? That's my fear right there. Like I say, we most definitely gonna come back around to that because I don't think the way that things are moving in all the countries trying to beat each other to this utopia of artificial intelligence, autonomous agents, and everything. I don't think the slowdown is coming no time
No,
soon.
no. And they've admitted that. I've watched some podcasts and interviews where they straight out ask people, with the concerns you have, are you going to slow down? And they said, no, we're trying to get there as fast as we can. And we know that where we're headed is problematic. They admit that. There are people who are engineering this that are admitting that. Almost like, okay, we'll figure it out later, but right now we're going to benefit from everything that we can. And that's I think that's a real bad approach.
Yes, I always say, my favorite saying is, "What's the end? What's the end
Mm-hmm.
result?
Mm-hmm.
What's the end when you know? Okay, we here. What is here? What does that look like? I know some of the people in the political party, they was talking about the UBI, the universal banking scenario, where they was doing that and say everybody gets to have all this free time and live in this world of utopia. Yeah, that's see, that's the other side. That's just the other side. But I tell you what, that's whoo, that's my other brain that kicks in, because I'm so concerned. To your point, when you was talking about the 20 and under, my granddaughter just celebrated her birthday. She turned 3,
Okay.
and the son and his wife says she loves to take pictures using our iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, well, pretty sure that's a headache giving her your iPhone. Me being who I am, I looked up some stuff. Me and my wife talking, I looked up some stuff. I seen that they had baby iPhones for 3-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Gave it to her. She automatically, I'm talking about, it was no learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like push
I
the
know
button and
exactly
go.
what to do. Yep.
Yes, and I was sitting there like 3.
Mm-hmm.
I tagged it on with the with the Leapfrog laptop,
Mm-hmm.
because I said, Lisa, if you're gonna be pressing some buttons, at least be learning something inside of this thing.
Right. Why are you doing it?
But to the aspect of she's 3,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like for her 20 years from now?
Exactly.
That's where I'm scratching my head. I have no idea. And I will share this for right quick. I got a friend, I think I told you about his name, Archbishop Jones.
Yes.
He was in town this past weekend, and I had the pleasure of he and I just went out. We went to a Starbucks, man.
Okay.
We found a little Starbucks in the corner with about 3 people in there, and we got it in sitting at the table. We was talking, we got it in, because me, and he goes around doing conferences about AI inside of their ministry, and even out of country.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me something that I said, man, I want to think about that. He said he was getting pushback from some ministers inside of their fold, about the scenario. But he said God told him to occupy till I come.
Okay.
And he said that's all he know.
Mm-hmm.
And we was talking about it in the aspect of understanding technology, like occupy till I come. So it kind of goes back to what you was talking about, with the devil and stuff basically controlling into the e-commerce scenarios and things of that nature. We have to combat in some form or fashion. We have to combat this, I don't know, this tug of war. It's like those of us that understands technology, we understand the pros, cons, and everything. We have to be the voices of reason in some form or fashion to the generations under us to try. And I say try because, getting a person under 20 face out of their phone nowadays, that's an act of Congress.
Right.
So I really like what you were saying there, because I'm telling you, I'm always scratching my head. I probably think too much on it. But at the same time, I told you, if you're going to shoot me with a weapon, I'm going to study that weapon that I know you use. I'm going to know, it's only got 9 rounds. I got 9 times to jump around. It only can shoot this far. I'm going to be exactly that far away. So, but that's deep. But, I do want to get into just a little bit, and I know we're coming to an end, but I want to tell the people what you actually do. We touched on it a little bit, and I said it in the beginning of the intro. But when you told me that you're basically a consultant, your company is a consultancy for small to medium-sized churches, helping them do an array of things. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Financial structuring, vision setting. A lot of people have great ideas, and this is what I'm going to call a deficiency in the body of Christ. We have great ideas, but we approach them with systems that we're familiar with. And a lot of people in ministry are unwilling to challenge the systems that they're familiar with. If we're going to be effective in advancing the gospel, we must leverage technology to assist us to do things. For example, we use audio video equipment in our worship service, and for years we have been doing slides and other things to aid people with understanding the word that's going forth. It used to take me days to develop a slide to go along with what I'm doing. Now it takes minutes. Now I refuse to let ChatGPT or Claude or anybody tell me what scripture means.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a boundary that I'm just not going to cross. I want to do my own research. I always have, always will. I don't want to feed a concept into a bot and say, give me a message. I think that's too far. Although we have the technology right now, I mean, we use a service to edit our videos that if I wanted to reverse engineer, they have an option where I could give it an idea. It'll give me a message, but I don't want that. Okay. I think that's a bridge too far, and we can still leverage technology. So in our business, in our ministry, because my ministry is comprised of two parts, a ministry side and a business side. On the business side, we offer consultant services. I have books. I've written 7 different books. We do seminars of a number of different things. Okay. On the other side, we do ministry. We do teaching, we do training, we do mentoring, we do vision casting. We want to bring all of this experience to the table and say, look, you don't have to go figure everything out. We can help you. But what I find in the body of Christ is a lot of people are okay with spending the next 5 years figuring it out themselves. They're actually happier doing that than taking 2 or 3 days sitting down, getting a whole bunch of information and experience, and you're 5 years ahead of where you used to be. We've got to fill that gap. And a lot of that is not ethnic in nature. A lot of that is theological in nature. And we've got to loosen ourselves. So I'm gonna go back to something I said about the devil, and then I'm gonna let you go. Well, then I'm gonna let you do whatever your show. I'm not trying to take over.
Oh, you good.
But the issue with the devil is not that he's got authority over commerce. There's a very important piece of what Revelation says, that the devil has a dragon, the dragon creates a beast, and the beast creates another beast. Okay? Don't worry about it. It's going to be real simple. The key to this whole thing is being willing to worship the image of the beast. So ultimately, it's not really a technology thing. It's a heart thing. And I think that that's where we miss the mark. That's where we miss the point. Because as long as my heart stays pointed towards God and his will and his desires, when things go too far, I'm not going to go along because they're going to ask me to do things that I refuse to do, regardless of where the technology is. And I think we're trying to say, stop the technology, when technology can do whatever it wants, as long as my heart stays pointed and postured in the right way. When the devil goes too far, I'm not going, but that's a heart thing. That's not a technology thing. And I don't think that ministers, believers, whatever, I don't think we're asking the heart question. I don't think we're saying, do you love God? Are you living in between two realities? Are you really consistent and committed? Because then technology can do whatever it wants to do. that doesn't mean I'm going to go along with everything. So I just wanted to put that in there because that's a piece of the scripture. You have to worship the image of the beast. And if I'm not going to worship the image of the beast, the devil's going to cut me off before I get to anything else because I've refused to comply with his plan. So I just kind of wanted to finish the scripture portion of that and just say it's more than just a technology.
You you had me. Hey, we on camera, so I can't jump up out of my seat right now. It'll be funny for the people. But that right, when that statement right there, I be coining some of your statements. Ask the, it's like a play on ask the heart questions, but ask the heart question.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep.
Because that's the real issue. The devil will never have authority over those who will not give him their heart.
Oh my goodness. That's why you coming back, man.
Of course.
Yeah. Because, when I go back and listen to this in edit mode, I'm going to have more questions.
Okay.
Because, and then for y'all that's listening, and thank you for staying with us this long. Dr. Fite, he actually, I won't even tell you, I'm going to leave it as a cliffhanger, but he gave me some advice that I have told other people. And I coined that one line. The struggle is a waste of time. I've been saying that ever since. The struggle, I'm telling you, you're going to stay tuned, but when he told me something based on my situation.
I did.
When he said that,
that's what
I reacted that day. I didn't wait that day. And there was some people that was mad. They probably still mad and they don't understand. But I can tell you something, Dr. Fite. Ever since you gave me that word, as far as in business, and my wife she most definitely can tell you this. Everything went whoop. All of my desires and what I'm really trying to do with helping people understand technology, it just came rushing in so much to where I was like trying to manage the calls, the text, the bookings on the calendar inside of that bubble, which I do feel like, I didn't ask to be here. That's why I always tell people I didn't ask to be here. I didn't go to school, get the degrees in this thing. It woke up one morning and it was like, poof, you do this now. And I was like, okay, I'm crazy enough to, you tell it, if I believe it, and I know that's coming from a great place, and I know that's God speaking and not just anything, hey, I'm going to run hard. And let me tell you, that advice you shared with me, I just told Archbishop that this weekend. And he don't mind. He was telling me about some stuff, and I was like, the struggle, it's a waste of time. If you know you're going to be over here, don't even play over there. I shared that, and I said it with my chest too.
That's
and
right.
I had to give you, yes, I had to give you props on that, sir. But I tell you what, I really have appreciated talking to you, and we can talk about this for hours. That's why we're gonna have to come back and do a part 2.
That's fine with me.
And for y'all that's listening and watching and things, you already know where to go. We done spelled it out for you many times. DRBGFITE.com. You can go there, and then even for Dr. Fite, Skilldora, we kind of told them a little earlier, but now we are ready. We're going to be taking Fite AI to just another level. It's actually happening. It'll be, if you're watching this is the 26th of March. It'll be before the 1st of April. So if you go on there and that Fite AI is going to pull in a little bit more, because we have learned more, and what we like to do every time we learn something and we think it's beneficial, not disruptive to the people that we work with, we just automatically do that. And that's what we love to do.
I do want your audience to know, because you said that your business has increased.
Yes, sir.
The kindness that you and your team showed us, very professionally, but the patience and the attention and the extra things that were outside of the scope of work, but you knew that all of those things would help us going forward. Working with Skilldora was more than just getting your technical expertise. You were invested in our conclusions. And I want your audience to know and hear this, that it's more than just a service. It's more than that. It is literally a partnership for your success. And we appreciate you, and your business model in and of itself is a continual partnership that we can continue to benefit from that for years to come. There's only a stopping point if you get to the place where you want to stop. But we appreciate everything that you and the team have done, ideas that you came up with that we didn't think of, that have positioned us to be able to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. So I just wanted everybody to hear me publicly say, thank you.
I appreciate that. But you know what? You said it, you hit the nail on the head. Once you come into the fold with us, we consider it's family.
There you go.
We're going to continue to work. It actually isn't a stopping point, because we know that things continue, things change. Businesses scale. We're in this to really help everyone involved with us that actually, just come into the door. We want to see you win. I just had a training I did last night. I say at the end of the day, I might be aggravating to you, but that's only because I want to see you win. And we have to combat, in my opinion, always, I really deal a lot with small business owners. We have to combat why the corporate entities are downsizing. We have small businesses that are increasing.
Right.
That's, oh man, watch this part 2, but we're jumping there. But I really appreciate you saying that, and to you as well and your team. Thank you for being receptive.
Oh yeah.
To the methodologies, because like I said, we've been in it for a minute, and we done took the punches. I got some bruises underneath my shirt. That's why I won't show the camera. I got some bruises, but I take the punches because at the end of the day, just like what you were saying earlier, if you understand the proficiency that you can get utilizing tools and then just understanding your process, because at the end of the day, take the tools away. You really just need to understand, what is my process? How do I get people from step 1 to step 10 or whatever that looks like?
Right.
But yes, sir. But I tell you what, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And most definitely, if y'all watching, most definitely look down below. You're going to see how to get in contact with Mr. Dr. BG Fite himself. Even if you don't talk to him, you talk to Fite AI, same thing.
It is. And some people tested that by asking Fite AI a question and then asking me, and I gave them the answer that Fite AI gave. So
that's crazy.
I'm telling you, it's really an interesting thing.
And I will say this right here: if Dr. BG Fite could start getting a subscription to an AI tool,
there you go.
Everybody can, because he told me straight up.
Possible.
Well, thank you, and we'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, man. Have a great evening.
You too.